trying to find where it is. I mean, Proverbs is such a rich book when it comes to like everyday wisdom, everyday survival. You know, in terms of, you know, I said to people, oh here, look at Proverbs 30, verses 7 to 9. He's saying this is the type of prayer that we should have. What does that say?
Two things have I required of thee.
30 verse 9, sorry.
30 verse 7.
7 through 9.
7 through 9. Two things have I required of thee. Deny me them not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny thee and say, who is the Lord? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of my God in vain.
So what he's saying is, you know, don't make me what? Don't give me too much money, so I become full of myself and say I don't really need God, right? Because that's how the rich think. You know, I got money, I can buy anything.
Exactly.
We go back to Ecclesiastes, money answers everything.
Exactly.
He said I become full of myself, right? He said, but don't make me poor either, Lord, because then I have to steal. And they say, you're a Christian, but I'm hungry, I don't have any money, you know. So he's saying, I want a balance. I don't want to steal to profane your name, but I still always want to maintain my fellowship with you. So could you give me this? Could you answer this request of mine? And so we must always see a balance in terms of what we ask the Lord for, because the ultimate goal of anything we ask the Lord for should always be, how will this benefit him? You see, that's the foremost criteria in our asking. But many times, it's how is it going to benefit me? Okay? But that's not the question. The question is, you know, in order to get your prayers answered, you always have to, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. So you got to take care of all God's stuff first before you get to, you know, give us this day our daily bread. And so that's the mentality we have to develop. You know, before I ask you God for something, I better think really hard, what am I going to say to God in order for him to grant me this request, and let him know how I'm going to use it for his benefit. Because that's the first stage of all requests. How is this going to, so if I say, God, I need to make more money, God's going to say, okay, how's that going to benefit my work? You told me what you're going to do with this more money. See, if you don't tell him, guess what? You ain't getting it. All right? Because you got to take care of his will first. You know, and that's the sequence of Christ when he gives us the pattern for prayer. Acknowledgement of who God is. You know, he's God, he's in heaven, so we reverence him. Take care of his will on earth. That's what we're left here to do. Carry out his will. And when you take care of all of that, when you take care of God, then you get to, could you please help me and give me some daily bread? But we cannot be selfish because he's got a whole bunch of children, so it's always us. Right? It's our Father. It's forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. It's always about us. All our prayers is always about me. Right? But our, you know, Christ brings you in. You know, he's his Father, our Father, but there's always, we are all brought in. And if we think about that, if we always think of our, and remember we're all brought into this, then how I interact with you should be different because we're all part of our. If I say, give us this day our daily bread, then how I interact with you in finances should be different because we're part of us. And you're part of us, and I'm part of us. And so that's why it's important to recognize that our prayers have to have those ingredients that will cause God to say, they get it. You know, it's like my son. He used to get a dime for allowance. And he would lose it. And then one day he came to me and said, you know, I think my allowance should go up. I should get a quarter. I said, why? You lose the dime every time I give it to you. So why should I give you more? Right? You shown you can't handle a dime. Why should I give you a quarter? And you know, many times that's what God is saying to us. I gave you the job. You're in debt over your head. Do you really think if I give you more money and you don't change your behavior, it's going to help you? You'll just get into more debt. So first show me how your behavior has changed. Show me how you're now going to order your life, putting me as a priority, and then come back and talk to me about giving you more. And then I also want to know not only about me, but how are you going to aid your other brothers and sisters in Christ? The us. Okay? So that's what we need to recognize. You know, when God said, when Christ has prayed in this manner, what he's saying is, it's not necessarily these words.
Right.
But these are the ingredients that your prayers have to have in order for God to hear them. Yes, sir.
I want to expound on that us thing, like as far as finances go, like give me an example on like what's a good way for if I start making more money, how will it affect all of us?
Okay, you know, and us may not be people in this room. It may be missionaries on the mission field. You follow what I'm saying? They're part of the us too.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be
done on earth as it is in heaven. But here's an example, and one that I followed, right? You know, one thing that I did a long time ago was said, okay, you know, I know there are missionaries out there, you know, and I know they need the Lord's work. What am I going to do to be able to help them? And if so, what do I need to order in my life? You know, how do I need to order my finances in order to help them? So it may mean that every day out of my paycheck, I purposely take aside money and put it in an account. I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah.
But Lord, when the need arises,
okay,
I'm going to use this to help somebody.
Okay.
Okay? So I've had missionaries that's come here and just went up to him and says, you know, brother, the Lord led me to take you shopping. You know, and bought them a suit because I know of their work, I know what they do, I know they don't have, so I take them shopping. You know, I've done that with various people. And I'm not saying it, again, I'm giving you this as an example, not saying, you know, you should do it.
Right.
But, you know, I know people that basically set up a separate bank account so they don't mingle it with their money,
Right.
put money in there and say, you know, when, you know, the Lord wants me to do something, I don't want to not be able to do it because I don't have the finances.
Because money answers.
No, well, you need money. You know, you need money, and Christ, even Christ says, you know, the children of this world are wiser than us because they know how to utilize money to their advantage, right? And so he says, you know, take that money, you know, that he's allowed you to earn, and show how you're going to be wiser than the children of this world because they use it on themselves, on pleasure, but use it for me. And you will find, you know, there's a fundamental principle in the Word of God when it comes to finances. And, you know, the whole idea is better to give than to receive. And the whole idea of giving. You know, and you keep that in mind with Psalms when he says, I've never seen the righteous forgiven, nor their children beg for bread. And this whole idea of giving is contrary to the world's way of thinking. Because the world tells you you've got to hoard, you've got to accumulate, you've got to keep. And Christ and God says in His Word, if you want to have more, you have to give.
Wow.
Right? But if that principle does not work, right? If it does not work, then why do you think so many rich folks set up foundations to give money away? Because they know the benefit of doing that. They may not know from a spiritual perspective, right?
It's applicable.
But it's applicable because when Bill Gates, through his foundation, right, or Zuckerberg through Facebook, gives $100 million to the city of Newark for education, he's going to make that back fivefold. Why? Because those people there are going to be happy for it, grateful. And if he comes out with a product, they're going to say, well, I got to support him. He gave $100 million to make our school better. Okay? So the whole concept of giving, right, is proven in the world in which we live by these foundations, and these foundations never run dry. The rich seems to get richer, to your point. 20% of the people control what? 84% of the finances, and they get more and more. Why? Because God's biblical principles are truth, and they work regardless of who uses them. Always remember that. So you can have two non-Christians that are married, but living their word living their lives according to the biblical principles that they're not even aware of.
Right.
And they're married 50, 60 years,
Right.
and 2 Christians get married today, and in 1 week they're headed for divorce court because they're not living within their marriage according to biblical principles.
Right.
Biblical principles is what God has given to Christians, but it does not stop. Okay? I'm talking about, you know, principles for life or whatever. It does not stop, or it does not stop its effect because non-Christians utilize it. Now, the whole idea, right? God says a man, you know, shall cling to his wife. Now, right, and leave his father and mother. Now, how in the world, think about this. You just met somebody, right? What in the world will entice you to give up your mom and dad? You love your mother.
Right.
What in the world would entice me to leave my mother and father and take this person and put them on a higher plane than my mom or dad, who I claim I love so much?
Right.
It's only accomplished, that is only accomplished in marriage through the sexual act.
Right.
Because something is created, something happens in that, aside from babies. There's a bonding that occurs that occurs in no other way except through that very thing. Oh, it's 3 o'clock. Very thing. So now, if I use it incorrectly, say with another male
It's still gonna
or
work
2
together.
females,
Yeah.
that bonding will still happen. But
Yeah.
the unbeliever doesn't understand that. So he starts saying, well, why is it I feel so good? I must have been born this way. No, you weren't born that way, but you're taking something that God intended to bond people,
Right.
and just because you're using it wrong doesn't mean that it stops the effect
Right.
of what that thing was intended to help happen or occur. So that's an example where there's something that God has given us to use in a specific way. That's why he's so adamant in the fact that if you're single, man or woman, you should not be engaging in premarital sex, because you're going to be bonding and then breaking up and then going crazy.
Right.
And you see these guys, they break up with the girl, they say, well, if I can't have you, no one can, boom, boom. Why do you think they're thinking like that? Because the bonding has occurred, the cementing that God wanted the two to be filled in one. Oh, he's my life, she's my life, I can't go on without them.
Yeah.
All right? Show me 2 people who date for 20 years, never have sex, and break up, and I'll show you 2 people who within a week gets over each other. But show me 2 people who go out once, have sex, and break up, and I'll show you 2 people who feel the effects of that breakup. And try to do all things to restore it. Why? Because bonding has occurred the way God intended it to occur. It's just like gum on a rug. You can scrape up most of it, but you'll always leave a piece there. And so it's important to realize that these things that God has given us, these principles, all right, they're very dangerous. Because if not utilized correctly, the results may happen, but not the results that God intended. Okay? Because we've misused it. We've misused it. And we've turned, so sex now has turned into a thing of pleasure. Not understanding the context in which it was given and the reason why it was given. Right? And you know, and Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, says, you know, there are a couple things that amaze me, but the way of a man with a woman, and he's talking about the sexual act. And he says, I don't understand what happens. It's like something comes over both of us, and it's like totally crazy. You know, and everyone's all excited, this, that, the other, and then, you know, when the sexual act is finished, it's like, you know, and then you go back, and so you want to keep rehearsing or rehashing that experience, that explosion that you felt, because it's unlike any other feeling. Okay, that's why some people become sex addicts, right? And they think it's the, no, it's not the thing. It's the feeling that's being created and all these things through the act that you keep wanting to experience and repeat and repeat and repeat. And that's what it all boils down to. So we need to understand that God's principles that He has set forth in His Word to bring about a desired effect, does not go away. For instance, sin is in the world, but the mandate that he gave man to take care of earth and to be stewards over his creation has not disappeared.